This is Talk is Sheep, a podcast by the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Come along as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine.
Well, Mr. Hamilton, the dog days of summer, it's hot and sweaty, and that must mean somebody's getting ready to go or stone sheep hunting.
Somebody. It's not me. It's not you. So who is it?
No, I don't know. Obviously not living.
We suck.
Yeah.
It is nice outside, though. I'll give you that. It was kind of overcast yesterday, but it's starting to warm up, and it looks like the south winds are blowing in, according to my weather trees. That's what I call them, because I can just kind of see them fluttering. So it ain't raining. So when do you leave for sheep?
Yeah.
You leave for sheep, don't you? You are sheep hunting, but not the opener.
In September, yeah. So, it's sort of mix it up from year to year. And we're going to push it till September this year and do something a little different. So the Jurassic Classic is a week earlier this year. That conflicts with my 2-week sheep hunt. So we've
you moved the Jurassic because you just said it's a week earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So, so it's one of those things where there's, prioritize, right? Spend the time putting sheep on the mountain instead of taking them off,
right.
I guess.
That's what we do, right? It's why we're here, right? Take one if you're lucky over your whole career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. You're due. You're still less than one, so you get to go to that less than one club social hour with hope and angst, and I don't.
Oh, you still got the international though, don't you?
Yeah, I couldn't go last year, but anyway.
Well, don't we know somebody that won the less than one a couple of years ago?
I don't know.
I'm trying.
Oh, yeah. Ryan Krog. Yeah. So one of our members, Ryan Krog, won it. He went to harvested a beautiful Dall Sheep. Yeah, he did really well. He was actually our mountain mentorship event here in Kamloops. And,
I thought it was a member.
So it was great to meet Ryan. But he was less than one winner a couple of years back. So very cool that he won. Actually, it was the COVID year. Less than one, you have to be in the room to win. But because of COVID, they did an online drawing, and you didn't have to be there. You just had to enter, and Ryan won it. It was hilarious. We're sitting there watching it, and they called his name, and right away we're like, Joe Humphreys is friends with him too, and right away we're on it. We're like, oh my goodness! He's like, did I win? I'm like, oh, geez, dude, you're so lucky.
Oh, I remember being there in 2020 with Joe. Joe and I were. We were drinking some beers, and we had to do a bathroom run just as they started. We're like, oh God. And we could hear the names, and you've been in the convention center, how far away that the draw stage is from the bathrooms. It's 300 meters or something. It's a huge place, and we're just running, trying not to knock people over because you don't want to miss it, because you've heard it, right? You hear people's names get drawn and they are not in the room. And imagine being in the building and not being able to respond. That'd be even worse. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it this year.
It happens every single year. I'm pretty sure that happened to Jamie Arnett. I think Jamie's name got pulled one time and had to be in the room to win, and he was not.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that happened to Jamie.
Yeah,
but
you can hear it. You can just hear the Kyle Stelter and silence, because if somebody's in the room, you hear the scream, and it's just, you hear the room go like, oh, is he here? Damn, it sucks he's not here, but Grady's not here because it gives me a chance to win, because they'll keep drawing until somebody's in the room, and you hear 4 or 5 names sometimes per draw. That's gotta suck. So be there.
Yeah, it does suck for sure. Okay, so couple things. We have a Facebook, social media, Instagram likes and shares contest. Steve, talk about what that is. Tell us.
Basically, we're trying to grow our pages. We have One Campfire on Instagram and Facebook. We have Talk is Sheep on Instagram, and we have our main page, Wild Sheep Society of BC, on Facebook and Instagram. And we got a pretty kick-ass contest brought to you by some of our conservation partners. So what you need to do is you need to like and follow our pages on Insta and Facebook. You need to tag 3 friends and share it. And you can get entered to win a kick-ass Yeti cooler. I think is it a 65 Tundra we're doing? And we're doing a Sitka jacket. I believe it's a Dew Point we're giving away, and some kick-ass Wild Sheep swag. And we'll cover the shipping. Provided you're in North America, we will cover the shipping to you. So it's pretty easy. You get to follow some cool pages and help spread the message of conservation. And yeah, these coolers are awesome. I got one a couple months ago. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty easy.
And for those, while you're at it, this isn't included in the contest, but get over Jurassic Classic BC on Instagram and Jurassic Classic on Facebook, and let's help grow that page too. So we have our Jurassic Classic event, like I said earlier. It's the second week of August, and great fundraiser for Wild Sheep. And so, yeah, on Insta, get over and give us some love on Jurassic Classic BC. And then also on the Facebook page. So I got to grow my brand too here, Steve. You can't just do all Steve's brands. So.
I helped create that page and logo to begin with. That's been going on a while now.
And a couple weeks left for speaking of Jurassic, we still have a few tickets left on that Stone Glacier raffle. I think we're about 80% sold out. So we are hoping to get that one sold out before the event. So yeah, get over to our website, wildsheepsociety.com, click on raffles, and get yourself some raffle tickets for that Stone Glacier package. So with that, this is a great chat, actually. I really enjoyed this. So a good friend of ours, Brent Acorn, he's been a life member of the Wild Sheep Society BC. It's kind of featuring one of our members, really, but Brent is a very accomplished hunter. He's hunted all over the world, as you'll hear. And he was hunting Dall Sheep in the Yukon this past year with Coosa Wild Lake Outfitters, who, by the way, are Wild Sheep raffles. We just did a raffle that wrapped up. We're drawing again at Jurassic. We sold that out months ago, but it's going to be a Dall Sheep hunt with Mac Watson and Coosa Wild Lake Outfitters. So Brent hunted with them, killed a hammer ram. It was the biggest ram registered for the Yukon Dall Sheep this past year. And just a beautiful, beautiful ram. And there's been some awards over that one. So anyway, we talk about Brent, and he's got a really good message. This is for anyone that's going on their first hunt or wants to get out in the field and chase some rams. Brent's message here is really powerful. Actually, I really enjoyed chatting with him about it.
Oh, completely agree. You felt like he was there, or like you were there in some of the stories he was telling. And yeah, we talk about everything from North American hunts to African hunts to South American hunts. It's a good old fashioned hunting BS session that I think everybody will like.
Yeah, for sure. So with that, enjoy episode 84 with Brent Acorn.
Across Canada and throughout the world, if you come across a campfire in the woods, on a mountaintop, or next to a river, you'll find warm company and friendly people gathered around. Regardless of your lifestyle or place you call home, we invite you to learn more about what it means to be a hunter in the modern era. If you love the outdoors, care about where your food comes from, and are concerned for the future of wildlife and the environments that they need to survive, pull up a seat. We have a story to tell. Welcome to our campfire.
Well, good morning, sir. Welcome to Talk of Sheep. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Brent.
morning. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So good to catch up. I know, we last time I guess I seen you with Sheep Week down in Reno, and we talked lots about hunting then, talked lots about the society conservation. But I just thought we'd be great to get together and catch up and see what's new in your world. So I guess let's just start off about telling everybody. I guess the main thing is you're a Wild Sheep Society BC life member. Been really involved with the society for a number of years. So let's just give us an overview, kind of who you are, what you do for a living, where you come from, that sort of stuff, so people get an idea who you are.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I grew up on Vancouver Island and moved to the Lower Mainland when I was about 16. And spent a couple of years here, and then I went to University of Alberta in Edmonton for 5 years. I was primarily there to drink beer and play football, and I ended up leaving there with a Bachelor of Education. And I didn't really know what I wanted to be, and I thought the fire service would be a good thing for myself. And I got on with the fire department shortly after there as a young man, and I've been on the job in Delta for 18 years now. So it's been a pretty rewarding career, and it's not for everyone, but it's definitely for me, and flexible for hunting and stuff like that. So I did a little bit of substitute teaching on my days off for the last 12 years. As a phys ed teacher. So just to supplement some hunting trips and stuff like that. So, but I'm retired from the teaching gig now. I'm getting too old for two jobs, and I'm just doing the one job with the fire department.
Awesome, man. So, okay, you got to fill me in. Why the heck is it that every like all these diehard sheep hunters are freaking firefighters? Is it because you guys have so much time off? Is it the profession attracts sheep hunters, or sheep hunters attract firefighters? What's the story?
Yeah, you know what? It's there's a lot of A-type personality guys that want to get after it in the fire service, I think, and I think there's a lot of that with sheep hunting. It takes a little bit of courage to go out in the mountains and put your backpack on and be self-sufficient for 2 weeks and face the challenges and the ups and downs and the things that we do as sheep hunters. And maybe there's a correlation there to the fire service, right? Sometimes you have to put on your brave face and get after things. But yeah, I've met a lot of good friends at work and in the mountains. So I'm really fortunate to have good partners out there.
Yeah, awesome. Like I can honestly think of probably a dozen guys that I know of that work for the fire services that are part of the society, and I'm sure there's way more than that.
Yeah, I never even thought about it until now. I can name at least half a dozen.
Yeah.
Well, and they're freaking good hunters too, man. Like all of them are accomplished in the mountains.
Yeah, well,
one of my buddies up here is a cat guy and a firefighter and a sheep hunter and a goat hunter and just hardcore.
Yeah, we're just good at telling stories. We get a bit of downtime at the fire hall from time to time, and you guys just hear all the good stories, not the empty trips and the mistakes we make out there. But yeah, the guys that I hunt with in the mountains are primarily all from work and other departments and stuff. So we do have a bit of a flexible work schedule at times. So it is good to get away for these 2-week trips, right? Which is not realistic in some professions. So maybe that's our key to some of the success we have.
Yeah, for sure. Right on, man. Well, hey, let's talk a little bit about, did you grow up with hunting? Like how'd you get into it? Was it something through the force you got involved in it, or how that worked?
I grew up on the island and of course I went on some deer hunts with my dad when I was a young kid, and I got so involved with sports that, with school sports and club sports and all that sort of thing, that I didn't have a lot of time for hunting specifically growing up. I didn't really start chewing off serious hunting till probably 2010, 2011, just because I was busy like with the sports and school and everything and getting my career going. And then I was a young family man. And then about 2010, 2011, my friend Rob Weeks, who you guys know, was always encouraging me to come moose hunting. And he's a firefighter too in Vancouver. And we would go on an annual trip. And Rob was more into hunting than I was at that point. And so we'd go moose hunting up into Region 5, and it was just a great trip. And I was able to do that financially and get time away to spend 10 days up in there. And we had a lot of fun doing that. And that's where it all started from was the moose hunting trips. And then, I didn't start, got a bit of a late start to get into hunting seriously, but I haven't looked back ever since.
Yeah, awesome. And I remember seeing you at the convention for a number of years, but when did you start coming to the society stuff? I don't even know what year.
Probably 2014 or 2015 might have been the first time that I attended a convention, and I really decided that I wanted to hunt sheep in around 2014. I said, this is a goal that I want to try and find a good stone ram and bring one home, or at least get up into the mountains. And I did do backpacking as a kid. So a lot of the skills that we have in the mountains and the challenges I face, I did know what I was getting myself into. My first sheep hunt, I went with another life member named Greg Sawchuk. He's a friend of the family's and a friend of my dad's. They grew up together, and he took me on my first sheep hunt. So, he's got a Grand Slam and has, taken lots of beautiful rams and lots of species all over the world. So I was really fortunate to go with Greg, because he knows what he's doing. I encourage first-time sheep hunters to go with someone that they know what they're doing, because you think you know what you're doing, you think you know how to judge a legal ram, but it's a big learning curve.
Yeah, well said. And I guess, so for some of our listeners that are maybe new to the society or new to talking sheep or sheep hunting, for me, the show was pretty pivotal. Like when we went to the first convention, right away you walk in and it's kind of, I always talk to people. It's almost like a family. It's like people, you just think the same, you're kind of the same mentality, and right away you kind of click. It's a really inclusive place. It's not, I didn't find it intimidating at all. I've gone to other shows before and I felt a little intimidated when I walk in, but I never felt that way with the society. For you as a new guy walking into that room, did you know many people beforehand? I guess you probably knew a few of the firefighters already.
Yeah, I knew a few people, but I like say everyone was very welcoming and stuff. And I actually remember yourself coming up and introducing yourself, Cal, to me, and I was just kind of a newcomer there and didn't know a lot of people, but I just thought that, like, from your leadership standpoint at that point, I thought it was really classy, and everyone kind of had the same attitude as yourself as far as like welcoming, and regardless if you have 100 sheep hunts under your belt and you're an experienced guide outfitter, or you haven't even been on a sheep hunt yet and you're just there. That's the beauty of that weekend. Everyone's just there for kind of the same goals, is to meet friends and common people with common interests in sheep hunters, and have a few beers and a nice meal and raise some money for the proper cause.
Yeah, well said, man. And, I think too, for people that haven't been, it's such a great opportunity. There's seminars, and the seminars are good. You learn a lot. I've over the years, I've gone to a number of them, and I always learn something no matter what, like especially the horn aging, but there's a whole bunch of stuff from backpacking, taking care of your gear, all that sort of thing, long range shooting. The biggest part for me is like that mentorship and talking to people, and just, lots of times you'll be talking and, even swapping stories about sheep hunting and getting ideas where to go. And, very rarely guys marking an X on the map. And if that's why you're going, you probably shouldn't go. But inevitably you get talking about things and you learn from people, and you new areas to go to. So that aspect of it's always been really rewarding for me too. It's always fun to hear of guys' experiences and that sort of stuff. And like you said, half of it's bullshit anyway, because it's hunting stories.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hunting and fishing stories.
No, we don't really always share the toughest times in the mountains, or the times when we made a mistake and had to come home early or whatever, right? But that's all part of the journey. And I encourage any young hunters, male or female, that when you always have this preconception of what the trip's going to be like. I've hunted abroad a little bit, and I've hunted quite a bit in British Columbia, and you think this is the way it's going to go and this is how it happens, and it never does. It's always different than what you imagined, and we dream before we go on these trips that this is how it's going to turn out, and it never does. So when you get out there as a young sheep hunter, or someone that's hunting mountain goats or whatever in these tougher areas, these extreme conditions, just the lows are low and they're real, even for people that are experts at it. And I'm not an expert by any means, but just keep grinding out and try and be safe and focus on that aspect of survival. And the sheep and the goats and those special animals they'll fall into place when the time's right.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, that's sage advice, man, for sure. Okay, so you talked a little bit about hunting overseas, and we've talked a little bit about this. I see there's an African animal on your wall behind you. What's that?
This one here, actually, this came from Argentina. Actually, it's a black buck antelope. Okay. Yeah, and I went there in a few years ago with a guy named Ken Pamplin. He owns Black Powder Tannery, and he was, I think, vice president possibly, or on the board with SCI at the time, and they were doing an SCI promo hunt, this outfitter down there, and I'd never been anywhere outside of British Columbia for hunting, and he invited me to go. I said, well, yeah, this is sure, why not, right? It fit my budget, and we went down there and we hunted red stag and black buck, and Ken took a water buffalo too, I believe. So it was a really eye-opener thing for me to go to a hunting lodge where people are cooking for you, and you're sleeping in a bed every night. It was luxurious, and it was great. It's different types of hunting. That's one of the things I respect about the sport we do, is that you can drive out to Chilliwack and hunt, black-tailed deer or bears for the day. You can set up a wall tent and take your whole family hunting, or you can get on a jet boat and go 200 kilometers down the Kachika, where it's more extreme and less comfortable. Or you can go to Africa. You can do all these things to any level, which is the beauty of our sport. You don't have to be the sheep hunter. You can be the guy that goes out and hunts black bears in the valley here, an hour from your house. So, people need to understand that you don't have to do these extreme hunts right off the bat, or it's just about getting out with people that share the same interest in your family and enjoying the outdoors in British Columbia. Because even though some opportunities have been taken away from us, we still live in one of the best spots in the world, I think. So, but it was, back to my point, it was eye opening to go to a guided hunt and with a lodge and have, being catered to, but it was excellent.
Right on. So you had that harvest. Did you get a red stag as well, or how?
I did. Yeah. I got a red stag maybe on the third or fourth day. I mean, there was a lot of game there. It was still challenging, but it was very different than, say, going to the Kootenays here and hunting elk, where if you see one and it doesn't work out, that might be it for the whole season. We were seeing animals every day. And then that was just like unbelievable for myself to experience that and just to see that density of animals, right? It wasn't a high fence thing, but man, it was pretty good. And to get a quality one wasn't easy, right? Those animals were still smart. They'd been hunted for sure. And the guy that I was with didn't speak English, so we were good at hand signals and stuff like that. And it was quite funny. By the end of the first day, we got a way to communicate, and yeah, it was just a great trip. It was, definitely eye opening for my first hunt away from BC and Canada.
Were you down there during the roar? Or did you experience that at all? Because I that must be.
Yeah, we were right at the end of it, and you would hear them like, roaring in the middle of the night in the morning and get up, and it was just a different sound than I've ever heard. It was really nothing like an elk, right? And it was really neat to see them, and we saw some beautiful big red stags and some fallow deer and axis deer and all these species that I'd never seen before, of course. So that was a great experience.
So when you guys were hunting red stag, for example, was it spot and stock? Is that how you hunted them, or what kind of?
It was, and I think because it was near the end of the roar, we didn't call, and I'm not sure if they do that down there. I think they do, but yeah, it was spot and stock, and we spotted the stag that we actually harvested the day before, and of course it was in a group and bunched up and 300 yards away, and it was thick down there. There was a lot of almost like our willows but taller. So it was challenging. It would be great if you were an archery guy because there's lots of cover. Versus when I went to Africa, there was no cover in the one area we were in, and it was like the desert, so it was much different. But they were active, and it was an exciting hunt. And of course, we had a few whiskeys and beers afterwards, and everyone was happy.
That's cool. Okay, let's segue a little bit to Africa. Let's talk about that. When was that, and what did that entail, and who'd you go with? Let's talk about that.
Well, I went with a firefighter that I work with named Brian, and we had bid on this SCI hunt on an online auction maybe 3 years ago. And it was something that I never really envisioned I was going to do. And I was just looking at the auctions, and a really, to be honest, great deal came up that no one really bid on. And I couldn't really believe it was still there. And I thought, hey, this is for, a good cause too, right? It's not all about just getting the deal, but everyone's got their bottom line. So I put a bid in with a minute left, and we got it. And it was for 2 hunters to go hunt in South Africa for 10 days. Basically, we had a trophy credit each, which, gave us 4 or 5 animals. It was really generous, plus the room and board. So we tried to go, of course, probably 3 or 4 times. It got canceled from COVID. And we ended up being able to go in October, right kind of before that wave came in December. So a little bit of logistics with getting tested and this and that and the unknown, but we went for it. The outfitter was great to extend our dates, right, by over a year and a half. Chris Kaywood there from Southern Cross Safaris, and he was awesome. He's a friend, and we ended up going there for 10 days, and we harvested 11 animals. And it was like I said before, you think this is how it's going to go. Well, I got there, it was completely different, right? We hunted 2 different concessions, and it was beautiful terrain, and the animals were very smart, and there wasn't a lot of cover. So we ended up taking some really long range shots, which isn't really my thing, but I gained a lot of confidence when I was down there. So it was great.
Very cool. So, was on a safari, a good friend of ours, so one of our board members, Greg Rensbag, was just over there as well. And, lot of times, there's a hunting aspect. A lot of it's the sightseeing and seeing the other animals. A lot of them that you're not even hunting, right? Whatever that may be. Was there a lot of that? Did you guys do much of sightseeing, or are you just a lot of bycatch too? Like you run into stuff that maybe wasn't on the menu at the time?
You'd like hike over a hill and you'd see like 50 zebra or wildebeest go by. It was like you're like in Jurassic Park or something, right? The amount of game there and the density is unbelievable. They do such a great job of their management strategies down there and plans and stuff that and the PH that I was with, Chris, we would see animals, and of course for the first 3 or 4 days, I have no idea the quality of these trophies, right? If you want to call them that, I was like, that looks great. That looks unbelievable. And he's like, trust me, you don't want that. Like that's an average representation. And I'm going, oh, I don't know. It looks great. But by the end of the trip, you could start spotting, the mature ones and the ones that are special or unique or whatever, right? Whatever you're after. But he was big on the, the oldest ones and the best representations. And right down to the last day, we were looking for a Nyala, and was kind of my number one thing down there. And, we probably passed on 2 or 3 in the morning, and I looked at him like, really, those looked really good. And he's just like, just trust me on this. And by that afternoon, we had a beautiful old Nyala, like a really good one. And he looked at me and kind of chuckled and said, well, my gamble paid off. He goes, those other ones were pretty good. And I was getting nervous, but that's hunting and that's hunter's luck. Right. And sometimes things work out. So everything that we harvested down there was really high, not that scores and points make a successful hunt, but that's their mandate down there is the best quality animals. And it was really neat to come back with good ones, because when your friends come over, and that's what it's all about, they don't have a clue. If you've never seen a springbuck before, they all look really good. But it's neat that I know now that we got, quality ones, because they could take your money and just say, shoot that. Right. But, he was really honest, and he took a lot of pride in his selection. So that was neat.
Yeah, I've heard that many times from people that go overseas to hunt, that they essentially get buck fever because they don't know any better. It's, oh, that's a good one. Let me shoot that. And the guy's like, no, simmer down. And what they come home with is double the size. And it's like, holy crap.
Yeah. One thing that really surprised me down there was how tough these animals were. I found them much tougher than our animals, I guess maybe due to the thickness of their hide and their skin and their structure. But I mean, these were animals like, a Gemsbok is, not even nearly the size of one of our North American Rocky Mountain elk or whatever. I mean, he was absorbing 300 Win Mag shots like nothing, and 375 H&H with reasonably good vital shot placements. I could not believe how tough these animals were. Yeah. So, not that I'm a marksman, but we weren't taking irresponsible shots, right? We had to take shots out to 400 yards though, which was not something I do here very often, especially we can always feel that we can get a bit closer, but there you couldn't. They were smart and there was no cover. And, that was something that I totally thought was going to be different, and it wasn't. So, that was neat. The second part of the hunt, we hunted in a different concession where it was thick, more jungle-like. It was on the east coast of where we got the bush buck and the Nyala and the Impala and stuff like that. So that was much different. That was more of like that jungle atmosphere. So that was a little bit, I guess, easier to spot and stalk.
That's awesome. So do you see yourself going back?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's there's no better value than that. Like, especially if you're on like a bit of a blue collar budget, there's literally, not that I'm an expert with hunting abroad, but I mean, you can go there and enjoy yourself and be treated very well and get your animals for pretty reasonable, costs and stuff like that. So, and the country's beautiful too. You got to be careful there. I found it to be a very dangerous country. I haven't traveled a whole lot, so you got to probably go with the right people and be very aware when you're traveling between concessions. Like both the husband and wife that I was with showing, the PHs, they had handguns on them all the time. So that's not really something you see around in most places you go, but I didn't feel unsafe. I was just aware of the dangers of, if your car breaks down in the middle of the night on some of these highways, you could get into some serious trouble if you weren't with the right person or you didn't have help. So
heard that as well, where you drive down the highway and they say, there's there's like a burn barrel in the middle of the highway. They say, just keep going. Don't even stop. They're fine.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to be, really on your toes. I know that the PH that I was with, he had to buy his daughter her first car, and we were talking about, well, like, I have to do that too soon, or I'll help my daughter out. And, we won't be buying a brand new $50,000 car for my daughter, I'm sure. And he said, I had to buy a brand new car for my daughter because I could never risk her breaking down, traveling between her boarding school and their house, because it's a 2 or 3 hour drive. And he just said, that's not an option. Like, if your car breaks down by yourself, you're in trouble there. So it is sad that's the way it is in other countries, but we're lucky here that we're much safer. But that was eye opening for me too. So Africa is a great place. I'd go back whenever I can.
Awesome. So now you talk a little bit about the safety with the traveling. How about in the field? Did you ever find like any close encounters with animals or any of it where like, holy shit, we're in trouble here or not?
I was always aware of what was going on. And of course, Chris that was taking us around the PH, he's, been outfitting there for 30 years and he's guided, all the big dangerous games there, the cats and the hippos and all the real dangerous ones. I was very aware of the snakes and spiders there. We saw some, Cape cobras and stuff like that. I didn't feel very comfortable with that. I saw a pretty big spider in the wall tent we were staying in the second concession. I didn't like that either. Those aren't animals that I'm very comfortable around. But as far as when you're out in the field, some of these antelope are aggressive too, like the black bucks the bush buck's aggressive. And he said, like, if we wound this thing, it's going to come at us, stuff like that too, right? These animals they're aggressive down there, even the plains game. And so yeah, we didn't get close to like hippos and crocodiles or anything like that where we were, but we did see them. But you're a little bit more comfortable when you have a rifle in your hand versus in your tent and there's a spider there or a snake. He talked about there's snakes in their house where they went like Cape cobras in their house and stuff, like wrapped up in the drapes. So maybe he was just BSing me, but I was more aware of the snakes and spiders than I was of the other animals down there.
Yeah, that would get my attention too.
You're just out of your comfort zone with that sort of thing, right? Like,
yeah, for sure. Okay, so one more international hunt, and then we're going to segue to sheep. But when we were down in Reno, you were talking about you're trying to book a hunt to Europe, I think for I can't even remember what it was. Is that still a go, or what do you got on the plan?
It is, yeah. So I talked about my friend Greg Sawchuk there. He invited me to go on a hunt to Spain in December. He had won a raffle at Wild Sheep for a hunt to go after mouflon sheep. And, he phoned me up and he said, what do you think about hunting mouflon sheep one day? And I said, well, of course, who wouldn't? And I kind of thought nothing of it. And he phoned me about a month later and said, listen, I'd like you to come with me. It's like about a 5 or 6 day hunt for mouflon sheep. And I said, great, this is unbelievable opportunity. So I agreed to that. And then of course, while you're over there, I mean, you have to consider, going after one of the 4 ibex too. So I spoke with the outfitters when I was in Reno and we got a bit of a plan to hunt the ibex too, because I'll probably go there once in my life, so I'm thinking, the mouflon sheep would be really cool. but I have a special spot in my heart for those ibex. And I think it'll be another really enjoyable hunt, challenging too, I'm sure, but, we stay in a lodge every night. So it's another one of these hunts that I'm not really used to, but really looking forward to that. I think it's December 10th to the 20th. So yeah, I keep on kind of falling into these invitations or these really good deals for these international hunts. My buddies at the fire hall, they're always giving me the gears about, they think I made millions or something doing these hunts abroad, but it's like, say, if you can find the good deals and you can make these dreams become reality, and, so yeah, just keep your eyes open for the opportunity. So yeah, Spain's a go in December. It's kind of crazy that I'm doing that, but it's going to be pretty neat to go with Greg too, because I've known him my whole life and he's been around the block, obviously hunted all over the world. So it's neat to go with a guy, he's been to Spain before once and he's excited to bring me along and show me where he's been and stuff like that. So.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you talk about these deals. One of our buddies, Mark Gassati, he just cruises online hunting auctions, and he's always picking stuff up. And there are some pretty good deals if if you watch for it and you're pretty diligent and you kind of know you got to be careful what you're looking for. But
For sure.
he's always picking stuff up at a deal.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah,
I mean,
pretty cool opportunity.
everyone wants a deal, no matter how much money you have. But it's neat to be able to. And you're buying these auctions too. That's going to a good cause, of course, right? So what we all believe in, and
Absolutely.
And so, even if you don't get the best deal in the world, but you're still getting a bit of a price deal, the money's still going to conservation and supporting other economies too. And these outfitters, they've had some tough years, I'm sure, with COVID. So it's great to be able to go and support their economy too. Just help, hunters come to BC and help our outfitters put food on the table.
Yeah, well said. When you were in Africa, and like you said, it was in October. It was just over 6 months ago. What was it like there with COVID and stuff? Were they really hurting over there? Like I know you don't see much of it because you're with the outfitter, but what was it like?
Yeah, like I was a little bit shocked. Like we did spend a night or two in Port Elizabeth, just on the way out of town after we were done, and people were wearing masks like on the street by themselves, walking down the boardwalk of the strip there, and they had their masks on. So they were pretty diligent at that time. That was October, and here nobody was wearing masks, outside at that point. So, they do have trouble there with their healthcare, which what I was told, right? And so, getting vaccines and getting proper healthcare is probably not as fortunate as we are here, even though we have our struggles too, of course, with our systems. But so I think the individual down there was a little more cautious about COVID than maybe we were here. And I don't want to take anything away from Canadians and how we dealt with it. But I think if you got COVID down there, there's no guarantee you're getting treatment. So as far as the individual down there, I found that they did take it very seriously. But I didn't see restaurants and shops and stuff closed down where we were. So I know that obviously the hunting outfits, they didn't have clients for, I think it was over a year or two. So they obviously took a hit there, which is a huge economic, factor for that country. I think it's probably, right up there in the top, money makers for that country, for South Africa anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So one last thing, what type of ibex are you going for? Which of the four are you going to go after?
Well, I really like, the Bassetti, I think it's called, and the Grados. And Greg already has a Grados, and he's got a pretty good one. So the outfitter said, you guys can split up and you can hunt either one you want. There's the other two too. They're obviously beautiful, but they're not as big. So if I'm going to get one in my life, I kind of want the one with the biggest horns, I guess. And they're big. They're big on age too. So he says, don't worry about the size of the horns. They're all nice. We'll go for age, which I thought that was really cool for the outfitter to say that. But we're going to go for the Bassetti because Greg doesn't have one and I can hunt with him. We can hunt 2-on-1. We were given an option, and I'm like, I'd rather be right beside him and have that camaraderie and then he can get his second one and not have to get one of the same. And they're both beautiful. So hopefully that works out and we find some nice old, I guess they're billies. And there's a gameskeeper that comes with you and he has the final say. He's from the government and he has the final say on which one you can harvest. So this is probably another testament to how well they've managed them there, because they said if all goes well, we should make out pretty good. So a little bit different than hunting here, right? Who knows what's going to happen here, because probably the density is much more greater over there. So for animals.
Okay, man. Let's segue now to North America. So you started going to the sheep show in 2014. Let's talk about your first hunt. When's the first time you went in the mountains to chase a sheep? What was that like?
Yeah, we went. It was Greg, myself, and another guy from work, and we flew out of Dease Lake. It's a great area to hunt sheep especially for your first go, I think. And we landed there, and we hiked a couple of days off the lake, and we saw some sheep. We ended up harvesting a couple of goats on the way out. Our hike back, we spent probably 10 days. It was late August, I think. was getting dark at like 8 o'clock at night. I remember that. So it wasn't like a true early season one. And we didn't see any legal rams. We did bump into the outfitter in there, and they didn't have a client at the time. I remember seeing what we think is a 65-inch moose, but it was probably 20 kilometers from the lake. So that was pretty special to see something of that caliber, because it was, I mean, I haven't seen anything since, of course, but yeah, it was a great trip. We came out with some goat meat and some billies, and you know, I saw my first stone sheep, of course, and it's kind of obviously like most guys that stick with it, you either like it or you don't, and I was hooked, and you know, it was pretty special trip to be able to go away with some good guys and see sheep and come out with some success too, right?
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So that was your first fly-in, and then what? Well, let's talk about. Have you? I don't even know what you did. You've killed for sheep. I know what you did this last year, but aside from that, what?
Yeah. So so I got really lucky on my second stone sheep hunt. I went with my friend Rob, and we went in a riverboat. And I probably won't tell you guys where we went. I get in too much trouble. But anyways, we went in the riverboat on my second hunt for opener, and August 1st we got on some rams, and by dinner time that night, after the good 12-hour chase and stalk, and I was holding my first stone sheep. So I was really lucky to get that done, and Rob was there the whole way. He had harvested a ram at that point too. So he said, like, this is all you. So when we see that legal ram, you're going to be the guy. So I'm really lucky to hunt with my friend Rob Weeks and Dean Gancher, and these guys, Aaron Perota. They're all selfless guys. Like, if you don't have one, you're the next guy in line. And there's about a group of 4 or 5 of us, excluding Aaron, because he's been hunting for much longer than us, that if we go in our group of 4 or 5 guys or 4 guys, and whoever doesn't have one, you're up. And over the last, say, 6 years, we've really been able to fulfill each other's kind of stone sheep dreams. We all have stone sheep rams now. So that's pretty special to be there with guys. I got my first, and then, another guy named Chris, I was there when he got his, and the 4 of us were there. And it's really special, right? To see that, because I think it took Chris 5 tries type of thing. And that's still relatively pretty short when it comes to getting a ram, but it's still like, there's still, and one thing I've learned about hunting sheep since I got mine is that I'm much more relaxed now when I go after getting that first one. I enjoy the experience more. That those first trip, and even this first part of the second trip, I put too much pressure on myself to get one. So my advice for any young sheep hunters is enjoy the journey, enjoy the moment, because if you're doing the right things and you're working hard and you're with the right people, it'll eventually come true. Our thing is to get everyone to get their first nice legal ram. And then within my group of hunting is to hold out now for something really special. I don't need multiple rams of the same caliber on the wall, so the next one that I take, if that opportunity comes, I want it to be really special as far as a stone sheep. And, that's how we operate. I know Rob, his second ram that he took was 11 years old, right? So he waited 4 more years to get his second one, and it's a special one, right? Success always isn't measured by inches of horn. And I don't really judge other people for their choices, but in our group, we get one ram, and then we hold out for something really special for the next one. So that's our mentality.
Yeah, and I think we kind of have to be like that, right? If everybody's going out and knocking over a 6-year-old ram every year, maybe it's legal, maybe he's past the nose, but you can't have 2,500 sheep hunters kill a ram every year. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people like yourself that do exactly that they're like, okay, now I'm going to be fussy, and or help your buddy or whatever, and that's part of, I think, what makes sheep hunting special is we do a lot of that. When you go whitetail hunting, most guys are like, yeah, we're going to knock one over and we're going to bring some meat back, and we're that's kind of the mentality. But sheep hunters don't. It's not about filling your freezer. It's not. It's about that camaraderie. It's about holding out. There's a whole bunch of reasons to do that. So I think it's a pretty cool thing that makes sheep hunters a little bit different than your average.
Yeah, and it's like just about being responsible, and I get it. You travel a long ways. You spend a lot of money. You grind it out, and you get up there, and we've had to look at sheep for a long time to make that decision whether we're not going to pursue it. I don't like it when people say I passed on a ram. It doesn't give sheep enough respect to say, well, I just passed on it. Like you would have been able to just walk up and grab it. Even at 150 yards, anything can happen. So I never say I passed on a ram. I've seen other legal rams that are the same caliber as the one I have, and we chose not to pursue it because everyone in the group had one similar, right? And then, for instance, like you see that one that's 11 years old, okay, let's go make a play on it. So, and people say, oh, that's a dink ram too, or sometimes we can be pretty critical about each other, especially on social media. I don't ever like to call a legal ram a dink ram. They're all special because how hard they are to be earned. And of course we want to shoot the mature ones, right? And the 8 or 9 year old ones or older. But I just feel that like we don't need to be attacking each other on social media for people's decisions, especially when you weren't there or you don't know them. We got enough problems with the antis and even good people that are just ignorant to the fact of what we do, attacking what we do. So I always try and be non-judgmental of other people in their decision making in the mountains, but we're advocates for taking the oldest rams we can find, and I got one on my wall. I'm proud of it, and hopefully one day I'll get the opportunity to get one really special. Right? That's how we operate in my hunting group.
Yeah, we got to do what's best for the overall health of the herd and the sheep themselves versus what we think is best for ourselves, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, it's and like I say, it takes a lot of discipline. You get up there, you get excited. We all know what it's like to see sheep, let alone see one that's legal. The excitement's unbelievable when you see it in the spotter because those opportunities don't come around lots, on a trip or in your sheep hunting career. So, I just hope everyone can do their little part, and then we'll continue to have these opportunities in British Columbia because we've all seen, for whatever reason, whether it was science-based or not, that's another day as far as our opportunities in Region 4 now for bighorns, right? It's gone for a GOS for the most part. In 4 it is. So it's an eye-opener, right? I took things for granted as a young hunter in this province. So I'm not so naive now anymore, and I probably take things, more serious than I did.
Yeah, absolutely, Brent. Well, and that's the thing too. And for somebody that's going on their first trip, or maybe feeling that pressure about the hunt, the key takeaway there is just being in the mountains and the experience of stone sheep hunting or sheep hunting or whatever hunting period. But stone sheep is really special. That whole experience, it's about the experience, right? And when you see that first grizzly bear or when you see that first stone sheep on that ridge, it's just a different experience. The measure of success for me, and I've been lucky enough to been on a few hunts where we've harvested rams, but for me, the true measure of success is just seeing a sheep. Like when I come back and I dream about for the rest of the year. Yeah, I want to get one. Yeah, I'd love to go and get a massive old ram, but yeah, just the experience of being in those mountains is incredible.
Yeah, all that high country is like 99% of the population probably doesn't do what we do, and I'm sure if they could experience it, they would see why we do it, and just being self-sufficient in the mountains and the challenges and the lows are low. Like the lows are low, like and that's why it's so special, and because the highs are so high. And there's a ram I think about all the time that was on another mountain range, and from 800 yards away, I could tell it was probably this most special stone sheep I've ever seen. And we never did see that ram again, but I think about him all the time. What happened to him? Where is he? Is he on someone's wall? It was probably 4 or 5 years ago. So there's little things like that go through your mind, and they keep the drive alive in you, just to go up and do the sacrifices that it takes to get up into sheep country. But there's nothing like when you get those nice weather days when you're on a ridge with your best pal, and you're looking through the optics and just hoping that rock stands up, type of thing.
Yeah. Well, and you said it, like the lows are low, man. Like sheep hunting is, there's times where you're like, what the F am I doing? Like you're done, right? And that's one of the things for me personally is just, pushing myself personally, and just, even just getting there, getting off the mountain, like not even being successful. There's been so many times where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm done. I'm absolutely done.
Mm-hmm.
And but you find it, you discover yourself in so many different ways. And I'll tell you, 14 days in the mountains, reflecting on what's going on back at home, it puts a lot of shit in perspective too, right?
Absolutely.
It's, for me, it's a total reset.
It's good medicine.
I can't imagine. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why it's so important to go with people you can really rely on. And I'm really fortunate. My one friend Dean, I've hunted with him more than anyone I have in the mountains, and he's the guy that when he sees that that I'm a little bit slow that day, or I'm getting older, my back's sore, my muscles are sore, he's the guy that just says, don't worry, we'll rally through this. Or if we get caught in a snowstorm in August, which we have, when you're just going like, this is unbelievable, like how is this even possible? He's the guy that you spend the hours in the tent with, and you laugh and joke about things, and that's what it's all about. It's not about the sheep on the wall. We all want that, of course, right? That's our goal. But really, as you look back and reflect, I don't remember. I remember the tough times and rallying through, and driving up north, and all the little things. Navigating the rivers in the boat. Some of the times I've been a little bit nervous in the float plane. Trying to navigate the fog, and those are the things you think about, right? The adventure, because it's probably instilled in us somewhere, and that the hunter and gatherer in us. There's got to be something in me that drives me back to that whole North Country and self-sufficiency, and really like pulling that steak out of the freezer with pride and saying, I earned this, right? Or having that whiskey with your pal, and he comes over and sees your ram, and you can see that he's dreaming about getting his own ram, or young sheep hunter, and you tell him about the story, and his eyes just lighting up, and you know that's something that he's going to do. You can just see the drive in his eyes. That's what it's all about for me, anyway. But I just hope more and more of our youth get involved with Wild Sheep BC, Wild Sheep Foundation, and all the other good groups, and get involved and learn and get after it, because life's short.
Awesome, buddy. Yeah, sage words of advice there. I like it. Okay, let's talk about Dall Sheep. So you got your stone sheep, and so this year we're down in Reno, and I had the good privilege of having you sit at my table, and then next thing I know, you're being called up for some award and that sort of stuff. So, and I know you're not the guy that's like, oh, my only thing is I only want the big ram and whatever. Like, yeah, we all want to shoot a big old ram, but I know you're not the guy that wants to go and collect awards and that sort of stuff. So I know that. Let's talk a little bit about your Dall Sheep hunt and what's involved with that. Give us the whole story, right, from the soup to nuts.
Yeah. So, my friend Aaron Perotta, encouraged me to hunt Dall Sheep, right? And he was heading up north for this hunt with Mac Watson, Mac and Leona Watson. They own Kusawa Lake Outfitters in North Curl. And of course, there was no Americans coming this year. So it gave some opportunity for Canadians to go, right? And I did get a little bit reality set in on the Tatshenshini draw. For me, getting a Dall Sheep is getting tougher and tougher. And I thought, well, the odds say that it's going to take me maybe 20 years or more to get this, right? And you could get it the first try, I get it. But I figured if I'm going to do this, I better do this now, right? You only live once. So I was able to go fly to the Yukon. We flew out of YVR. Aaron was there the week before me. He got his Fanaz ram, which was really cool, giving me updates on the inReach, which, I was excited. I knew I was coming the next week. So I arrived on about August 4th with my other friend, Ken Pamplin, who also booked a hunt at the same time. He's the guy that I went to Argentina with. We booked these Dall Sheep hunts. And at the time, I didn't know whether I was going in on backpack, horseback. I didn't know what was going on. Mac just said, get on up here. I was going to go later in the month, but he says, I have an opening now. So get on up here and let's get after it. So we flew out of YVR to Whitehorse, spent one night in a hotel. Next day I was at Mac and Leona's house. It was like the Wild West there, horse trailers, wranglers, guides, everyone's excited. There's clients there. And, I'd never been on a guided sheep hunt. I met my guide, Josh, who's now a lifelong friend. And he just said, let's go into the food shack. Went in there. We made our 10 days of food. And within a couple hours, Ken was going one way in a pickup to go on his adventure, and I was headed to the float plane base, and we flew out of Whitehorse there, and I think it was a 206, and we landed on a lake about 100 kilometers away, and it was real at that point. I was excited. We were on the way in, you could see what appeared to be Dall sheep in the mountains. They stand out quite a bit different than stones, so that it was really neat to just see sheep and be in the Yukon. I'd never been there before, and I was nervous, right? There's a lot on the line, but Josh just kept saying, "We'll get this done. Just, you never give up on me. We will get this done." He's a determined guide and a great man. So yeah, we landed at the lake, and we headed off on probably the next 10 toughest days that I've ever experienced. Very different than what I thought. We had trouble with weather. It was our big problem was wind and rain and all that sort of thing. And the wind was so bad that when we did eventually get on the band of rams that had the one in it, we couldn't even age it in the spotter because it was blowing so hard, with high-end optics, high-end tripods. I was holding the tripod. Josh was looking through the spotter. At 200 yards away, we couldn't get an age on this ram. The wind was just absolutely unbelievable there for probably 7 out of the 10 days. Right. And, it was standard mountain weather, but the wind was something different that I've never experienced in British Columbia before. And I've talked to some people that were up there at the same time, and they said, yeah, that was an anomaly for wind. So on day 2, we ended up seeing a band of rams, and it had 2 really nice sheep in it, 3 legal rams. And they wheeled through the valley before we could get an age on them. And it took us probably another 7 days to catch up with that band of rams again. We did the 36 hours in the tent, the fog, the rain, all that sort of thing. We put on some serious miles every day, which makes it all sweeter in the end. And I think it was on day 9. So we had 1 day left. We located these rams in another whole mountain range across a big valley just before dusk. And Josh looked at me and said, "Can you do the death hike tomorrow? We'll start at 4 a.m., pack up our camp and go after these." And I just said, "You bet." And, throughout the whole hunt, he just said, "These rams are here. We'll find them again. Like, one step at a time. We never give up. They'll make one mistake." And he was right. We got up at 4 a.m. on that last morning, and we put on a good 10-hour hike with camp on our back. And, I think it was about 6:02 p.m. when I sent out the text message, "Ram down." And at this point, we watched these rams for maybe 40 minutes to be, sure we're taking the oldest one. And, I knew it was special, but I didn't really know how special it was. I went up there just hoping to get any nice, mature legal ram, because they're all beautiful. But I think we spent the night on the mountain that night with it, got up the next morning. We hiked another day back towards the plain. And that's when Josh kind of looked at me and said, "How long do you think this ram is?" And he's a little bit deceiving. He only comes up to the eye, so, but he's 39 inches. He's a big looper. Wow. And he carries his mass all the way through. So I was just in disbelief when he told me how long this was. And in these measurements, I was something that I couldn't even believe happened. Right. For that to happen, I was just short of tears at that point, how it all turned out, because it was a grind. We're putting on 25 kilometers a day and stuff for 10, not every day because we're in the tent for those days. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty special to get a sheep, let alone one that's scores that well, I guess. And we all know that scores not everything, but Josh got the buckle in the Yukon for guiding that sheep, type of thing, for the biggest ram guided and stuff like that, which is so cool for him, right? Because it's a feather in his cap as a guide. So a bit of a long-winded story.
What did he score?
He ended up, I got to hear, 163 and 6/8. Yeah, so he's 39 inches with 14.5-inch bases, and I think his second measurement is 12.5 inches. His third's 10.5. He carries a ton of weight, and he's one of those rams that he swoops way back and way low, right? And so he is a little bit deceiving. Like to think a ram would be 39 inches and barely make it up to the eye. He's just different. So, but there was another ram in that band that, would be close to 40 inches too, but he just didn't have the weight and the age. So it was a no-brainer. I took one look at him, and Josh said both those rams are really good. That's the older one. And I said, I just want the older one, and his weight was just unbelievable. He was a man amongst boys in that band. But for me to think that he would do that well on the measuring tape, I had no idea. You think like a 40-inch ram comes way up past the bridge of the nose generally, I'm kind of an amateur at all but field judging really, but I was in disbelief when we put the measuring tape on him. So
that's awesome.
It was really
man.
neat.
So cool.
Yeah. And like we were there on the 10th, 11th day too, for it to happen in the last hour. Like it was pretty nerve wracking on that last day. Cause I'm thinking like, am I going home without one? Like, which is a reality, like that's a reality of sheep hunting. You don't get one every time, but I'm thinking to myself, how many opportunities do I have to do this in my life? And we left it all on the table, which was neat. And, Josh, he made it happen, and he always says, well, you pulled the trigger. And I said, like, well, I wouldn't have been there without you. So it was pretty neat to do that. And my friend Craig Stoley mounted it up, and it's on the wall, and I look at him every day, and it was one of the best decisions I've made to go up there and get a Dall Sheep, because it's they're hard to get. So yeah, it was
absolutely.
It was a pretty neat story. That and of course all my friends are rooting for me too, right? They're all excited, and I'm checking in with a couple of them every day on the inReach, and they knew how hard it was. They've been with me in the mountains, and they were pretty happy too when I get sent them that message, and they spread the word. And it just shows how much my friends and fellow hunters care about my safety, but also getting the job done, because they knew how important it would be to a guy like myself to go up there and come back with a ram. But their success rate there is really good. Like every hunter in camp had a ram when I came back. Some of them did it on day 2, some of them did it on day 3, and that when we came back, there was still a guy out there. And Max said, like, keep him out there a couple more days to get it done for the guys. So my hat's off to Mac Watson and Leona for running a top-notch outfit. And they're just great people who I keep in touch with, obviously still, and they're hardworking outfitters. So I wouldn't hesitate to recommend them.
Yeah. So for our listeners, that's North Curl. I think you went North Curl, right?
They had,
or was it
I
Kusawa?
went with Kusawa, and then they have Kusawa Lake Outfitters, and also North Curl, right? They have the two outfits side by side, but either one. I mean, Ken Pamplin went to his North Curl area, and he got a beautiful ram too. So, and of course, Aaron. I think Aaron was in the Kusawa Lake area, that part of their outfit too. So, the three of us went, and we got a beautiful rams, and I couldn't have wrote it any better. But there was some long days in that tent. I think 33 hours was the one pull about halfway through the hunt, and I'm just thinking to myself, I came all the way to the Yukon for this, right? And then I said, Brent, you know better. Like, this isn't any different than British Columbia, right? Like, it was no walk in the park, and the weather was winning, and it always does when it wants to. So there was some lows in that tent, but you know what? It was the weather smartened up at the end of the hunt, and we made a run for that band of rams, and they ended up staying put all day for us to sneak in on them. So it was one special thing was Josh pulled out some whiskey he had in a Gatorade bottle that he didn't tell me he had the whole trip. He wasn't into it or anything, but we had a drink of whiskey right on the side of the mountain there when we walked up to this ram, and it was a beautiful sunny day at that point, and that was pretty special to have a drink of whiskey with him, and he knew right away that how good this ram was. He just wasn't letting on, I think. So that was pretty neat. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Well, congratulations,
yeah,
Brent.
Thank you.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was neat. I encourage everyone to get after things in life, because it's short, and you got to take chances, and even just the experience of being in sheep mountains, regardless of the outcome, is worth the adventure, right? So it's hopefully we continue to keep doing what we're doing, with Wild Sheep BC and Wild Sheep Foundation and some of the other organizations to raise money and awareness and all these things that you guys do for us, really, to continue to have this sport, and sheep on the mountain. So I don't take it lightly.
Awesome, buddy. Okay, so let's. What's the plan for? So I know you said you're going for December. You're going to take off to you got your Spain trip. What's the plan for this fall? I know you usually do the opener, but what's going on with that?
I didn't go to the opener this year. I wanted to spend some time with my daughter, right? And my partner Laura's got 2 boys too, so they're still think we're cool enough to hang out with us. So I took the opener off to spend some time with the kids this year because they're 16 and soon they won't be wanting to hang out with us. But there's a trade-off to this. I can spend probably more time in September. So I have a moose draw and we're going to go hunt sheep and goats in an area that's close to this moose draw too. So if we don't get good weather for the mountains, we can try and get a bull for the freezer. And if we do get good weather, we'll get up into that high country and go after those special animals that we love so much. So I'm hoping to maybe spend 3 weeks up there in September, and then we'll see what happens with. We put in for antelope in Montana too. The draw comes out in a week or so. So that would be a really fun hunt, and it's something I've never done too. So maybe that'll come to fruition in October. So I'm busy, but get to relax in the sun in August, which is a weird feeling that I'm not getting geared up to go like probably tomorrow. Normally we would go up north, but that's okay. Someone will get good rams and I'll be able to see them on Facebook or whatever and smile and know that that people's dreams are coming true. So I'll live vicariously through them this week coming up.
Yeah. I have to wait till September. Go do it yourself.
I guess then. So. Yeah, you never know, right? Awesome, maybe something special will happen in September with us. You just never know, right? That's the lure of it all. So, it's I got a busy fall. I can't complain that I'm not going in August. But like you say, it's an adventure. So.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I just want to thank you for all your support. Steve and I talk about this all the time about Wild Sheep BC. We have phenomenal members. It's incredible the support that we get from guys like yourself, and we see it most when we get together at convention and these different shows. And I just can't wait for and for anyone listening, we have confirmed our show now. We'll be back in Kamloops in March for our convention AGM. So obviously we're going to see you down in Reno. Probably, I'm sure you're going to Sheep Week, right?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, it's a good time, of course.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for inviting me on this. I'm not a really heavy hitter in the world of hunting. I look on the list of the people, I guess you guys have had, and there's some heavy hitters that you guys have, and special people in the world of hunting that you guys have invited. So for me to be invited on here, I'm just humbled, and hopefully my story made sense, and hopefully some of it was true. No one will really know, I guess, but I appreciate the invite and your guys' time and what you guys do is what it's all about for the things that we believe in, and we're so passionate. So yeah, once again, thanks for having me.
No, it's awesome, man, and you're such a humble guy, and I just love hanging out with you because you've done a shitload of hunting. You've been very successful, and you talk to you never know it. So I love getting on here, and this is a good message for our listeners about the mountain experience, right? It's not about going out and just killing the first sheep you see. It's about the experience, and you live that, and you guys, and I know your cohort. I talked to the other firefighters that I know through Wild Sheep BC, and you guys are all kind of come from that same cloth. You're out there. It's the experience. It's about getting your buddy a ram. Mm-hmm. It's about having a good time. It's not about pulling the trigger, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty cool, buddy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Like, there's hunter's luck involved too. Like, you could hike for 10 days and find this most unbelievable ram that scores really good, or you could hike for 10 days and just see sheep that aren't even legal. Like, so just keep that in mind for these young sheep hunters, that like you still have to be at the right place in the right time and have that hunter's luck. But if you continue to grind it out, that luck will turn, and you'll be at the right place at the right time, and those dreams will come true. So and enjoy the moment and the journey when you don't have a sheep, because I didn't enjoy that first trip. I guess it wasn't that long, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have because I was putting too much pressure on myself. So it'll happen. and just enjoy that journey, because that's what you think about when you look at that ram on the wall, or you're having, you know, back straps with your friends over on the barbecue. You think about the journey. So that's my 2 cents anyway, guys. But yeah, thanks again for having me.
Yeah, well said. Patience is definitely a virtue when it comes to sheep
Absolutely,
hunting. That's for sure. So appreciate it, Brent. Well, look forward to hearing about your fall, and maybe we'll have you back on after your. Maybe you'll kill a world record stone sheep this fall,
you never know.
September, and a 65-inch moose.
You just never know.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Appreciate it.
Bye now.